This is a freestanding kit that I've made for the Lanshan 2. There will be timestamps along the bottom of the video. You can jump forward and backward to whichever bit interests you most. First I'm going to do a setup, then I'll explain the parts I used, where I got them, how much they were and how much they weigh, and finally I'll add some example videos of where I've used the tent and how it held up. I've added a large ring and a small ring to the tie-out points of each corner of the fly. When using pegs, pass the peg through the big ring and through the tent floor guy line. I did the initial setup this time with pegs because it's been a while since I've used the tent and I was a little bit rusty. So I pegged out all four corners, but if you weren't using pegs then you wouldn't need to do this, you just insert the poles. In each corner of the tent, insert the tip of the pole into the small ring. At each of the apex tie-out points, there is a large ring with two small rings on it. Pass the other tip of the pole through one of the small rings. This is the only modification that's been made to the body of the tent itself, by adding 6 large rings and 8 smaller rings. That's 4 large rings, one on each corner, with 4 small rings, also one on each corner, and at the apex 2 large rings with 2 small rings each. Pull the fly sheet tensioners. As usual with the Lanshan, sometimes it takes a little bit of playing around to get the ideal pitch. As with most freestanding tents, you still need to peg out the vestibule if you're going to use it. These tie-outs pass around the poles and through the guy line supports. They give the tent proper shape and keep the body taut. They are made from a loop of shock cord and a small toggle on the end. You could use anything instead of the toggle, even a small carabiner might be a nice mod. To set the tent up without pegs, pass the tip of each pole through the loop in the guy out cord for the tent body. The tent is now fully freestanding, minus the vestibules of course. To make the poles, I bought 2 pole sets from Amazon, 4 poles each, 3 meters in length. I also bought a damaged tent from my local camping supply store to have a variety of poles to try various lengths. Eventually I settled on 253 centimeters or roughly 2.5 meters per pole. At the time, both pole sets cost me 60 Australian dollars and I paid $10 for the extra tent from the camping supply store. There are plenty of videos on YouTube on how to lengthen or shorten tent poles. I'll link one in the description. These are the leftover pieces of pole that I had, and you can see that some of them have 2 open ends and some of them have a ferrule. These are the large key rings that I got from the local office supply store. They were a couple of dollars for a pack of 10 and they're quite self-explanatory, I'm sure everyone's used them. The smaller rings I got from a fishing tackle shop. I think there's something to do with attaching weights. Best to go into a fishing tackle store with your poles so you can find the right ones. The guy out supports are just loops of extra shock cord with a leftover toggle I had from that damaged tent. The poles weigh in at 700 grams. I think there's a possibility of getting carbon fibre ones from AliExpress, but I haven't looked into it. I used the tent for a 3-week car camping holiday where it was my only accommodation and it worked brilliantly. It's really easy to take the tent down inner first and put it up fly first, which was really handy if it was raining. The ability to set it up under something like a shelter, if you knew rain was coming or if there were coconuts that could fall, was invaluable. The tent's actually turned out much sturdier than I could have hoped for. I used it in a variety of weather. In this instance, it was quite high up and it was very windy that night, and other than being kept awake by the wind, the tent stayed up perfectly. I would have really struggled to have pegged out all 4 corners here, and especially with the trekking poles, I don't think it would have stayed up for the night. I think it could be a really useful modification for anybody who wants to have just the one tent but be able to use it freestanding or when the need arises to use it as an ultralight hiking tent. Maybe, for example, going on an extended car camping or motorcycle trip. As far as I'm aware, the external dimensions of the Pro version and the normal version are the same, so exactly the same length of poles should work with the Pro. Thank you for watching, and I hope somebody else can find this helpful too.